Okay, this is gonna be kind of a raw video. Hello. If you're new here, hi. My name is Tariq, or Mr. Rashad, or whatever. Hello. Now, I should have made this sooner in terms of like hours and minutes because I was talking with someone recently, like over text, and I don't know. I don't want to say too much because they watch my videos, but I feel like I'm always having a sobering moment. Like, I'm not one that stays sober for very long, but I feel like I'm always sober-minded, and I don't know, I had one of those moments when I went to the bathroom a second ago where I don't know how to say this. I don't know. I like to believe that we as humans, as divine beings, whatever, as spiritual creatures having a human experience, I believe that we all have the innate ability to connect and to tap in to higher knowing. And I feel like a thing that we do to ourselves, a big disservice that we do, is we try to, like, I'm not saying don't intentionally create reality. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be intentional about what you create with your life. But what I'm saying, and I'm also talking to me, is that when you recognize something as a truth in your life and you choose to paint it as something else. Like, I'm not saying you can't engage with something that isn't aligned with your values. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we should be more honest with ourselves. Like, it's just a song lyric, but I think a very profound song lyric is from Rain on Me by Ariana and Lady Gaga. And she's like, what did she say? Gotta live my truth, can't keep it bottled in, or else I lose my mind. And once again, it's just a song, but there's different lyrics from that song that really speak to my spirit. And that line specifically, I'm like, yeah, that's why most people lose their minds. That's why people lose their shit, because they're lying to themselves about things in their lives. And it's sad for me to think about that. Like, sometimes I get angry at the way people, at the way that this manifests, because people will do almost anything to protect their idea of reality or protect what they feel like they know. And sometimes that anything can be like literally tearing someone down. And I've learned not to take stuff like this personal. You know, what part of the Four Agreements, I don't know if you've read the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, if I said his name correctly. Always do your best. Make your word impeccable. Like, be a man of your word. Never take anything personal. And never make assumptions. Which is kind of in the same lane. Don't make assumptions and don't take anything personal. Like, you know. And I would add the caveat of, like, don't make assumptions unless it's for the intentional purpose of creating your reality. You know, because the law of assumption is a thing. But once again, I feel like a lot of people lie to themselves, and I wish we didn't do that. Like, another profound sentiment is that in order to be as good as you can be, as great as you can be, whatever that means for you, you have to also embrace the less great parts of yourself. You also have to embrace those nasty self-sabotaging parts. You have to also take ownership of that. And you're welcome to believe what you believe, obviously. But you came here to this video for a reason, so hello. But you have to take ownership. Like, that's why the whole nice guy thing is like such a disillusionment, if you can say it like that, because these people want to believe so hard that they are a good person that they ignore the negative traits within themselves, and then the psychology, what you suppress overcomes you. You know, what you deny takes control. And if you're constantly ignoring certain parts of yourself, that part is going to take control of your life. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I'm way too self-aware to like entertain certain things. Like, at least not within my personal energy. Like, I might entertain something on the surface, but internally I'm like, this is stupid. This is a fruitless endeavor. You know, like when I'm having a conversation with someone and I know they're just trying to feel important or they're just trying to be right, I'm like, I'm here, I'm entertaining, but this is a fruitless endeavor. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's where compassion comes in, and understanding and recognizing that not everything is about you, and sometimes you're just there for somebody. You know what I mean? Part of what prompted this video is because I realized that I've come a long way in terms of my spirituality and my beliefs. And I feel like naturally, when you reconfigure your beliefs, your belief system, it's natural that you would, or at least from my perspective, because this is what's happened for me all of my life, but it's natural that you would find yourself distancing from certain people that you've grown to know because you just no longer align, you know? And it sucks, but I'm also gonna be kind of transparent and say that, like, with this new revelation, I feel like I might be doing myself a disservice, because through this newfound connection with divinity and all that, I still have the same relationships. I still have the same connections that I did before. Like, I haven't really made any new friends, but I still have old friends. And I say old friends, but like, once again, all my life, I've had this sort of evolution, like, mindset where I'm like constantly changing what I think. And throughout this, once again, I'm always losing friends. You know, what did she say? Set of love and light. Ooh. That was really bad. Second Ariana reference, by the way. Yeah, and I was having a moment the other day where I don't want to say I was existing in self-hate, but I experienced a little bit of self-hate because I was realizing I want to say, be careful when I say this. I realized that because it's like, how it's weird to say, it's like I was experiencing self-hate because I was like realizing how great I am. And maybe it was like a projection of somebody else's feelings. Maybe we could say that on a psychic level. But I'm taking ownership of what I was feeling. And I was feeling self-hate because I felt like there was a possibility that maybe I'll never find true love. I'll never find like genuine friendship and community because I'm so great. And obviously this is a self-limiting way of thinking. This is a self-destructive way of thinking because that's not true. Like, nobody's too smart to make friends. Nobody's too good to make friends. Like, sure, jealousy and envy might be a thing that follows, but there's always a way around that. There's always a way to like combat that, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I feel like I did make the mistake of sharing some of these revelations with a friend of mine, and recently I've been studying the idea of deliverance and the idea of like casting out demons. And I don't know, obviously I'm only 27, but like having the awareness that I do, looking back at my life, looking back at my life, I'm sorry, that's a teddy bear. Did you see the low-key fear? Because I couldn't identify what it was. I was looking, I'm like, why does it look like that on camera? I don't know why it looks like that on camera, but that is a dresser, a piano, and a teddy bear. Looking back on my life, it makes sense that I would be on this path, that I would turn to spirituality, because I've always, like, when you look at, like, you know, the idea of a prophet, or the story of, also, what is it? The Time Is Now. Oh my goodness. That was one of the books that I've actually read in depth, and it's basically about the idea of being a prophet in modern times. That book, amazing. It changed my life. I have a list of books and resources. It's like at the top of that list. But it makes sense because, like, I've always been questioning. I've always been, like, you know, super critical of what's around me. And part of my self-hate from earlier was around me feeling so unique and understanding that I am so unique. Like, also, because I'm super into self-development, I was looking into, like, the personality types a couple weeks ago, and I don't know for sure, because, once again, I'm always changing and evolving, but I do heavily identify with the archetype of the INFJ. Don't ask me exactly what that stands for. I know it's introvert. Yeah, I don't remember, but I heavily identify with that, and it's, like, one of the rare, I think it's, like, 14% of the population, they say, and I heavily identify with the traits of that. And one of the aspects of that is being someone who is either super loved or super disliked. Like, there's usually no in between. It's usually, I'm obsessed with you and I want to know everything about you, or something about you ain't right. Something about you ain't right. I don't want nothing to do with you. It's no in between. And, like, that's the psychological aspect of it, but I feel like there's also, like, a spiritual aspect of, like, having that sort of energy. It's like, I don't know, we're not going to dive into that right now, but I don't know, I recognize that the way I think is unique, the way I think is, like, powerful, and I don't know, when I had that moment, like, because I was literally crying. Like, I was literally crying to myself, crying to God, and being like, you know, why is it so hard to make friends? Like, why is it so hard to just, like, exist? And, you know, and once again, I was sharing this with my friend, and he said maybe that was my ego, because I'd explained to him, because I wasn't trying to get into detail of how I was feeling. I was just sharing that I was crying about feeling holy. And he was like, maybe that's ego. And I was like, I don't think so. And then I explained to him further what I was feeling, and he was like, oh. And I don't know. I guess I'm being called to the idea of, like, being careful of who you share with stuff with. Because I get on the internet and I make these videos, and I don't feel like I get too personal, but sometimes I get a little bit personal for the sake of, like, sharing for someone who needs it. And in that regard, once again, be careful of who you share stuff with, especially when it's something that you really care about, something you're passionate about, because one thing I'm very passionate about is learning and understanding the world. And at some point he said to me, you're a jack of all trades. Or I said that, and he was like, that's, like, dangerous. And I don't know. There's a part of me, once again, like I said, we all know. And it's when we start lying to ourselves and trying to paint a picture that isn't accurate, where we go crazy and we, like, lose ourselves, you know? And, like, I try to be super honest with myself, and sometimes that creates issues, because I might not necessarily say my full truth, but I know it. Within every moment. And I know that's hard for some people, you know, truth. And I don't know, I had to pause for a second, but I don't know. And I used to say that as a kid, and my parents used to get on me about saying I don't know, because I used to just say it. Maybe that's a spell. Maybe I shouldn't. Like I've tried to remove it from my vocabulary, but I don't know. It's one of those isms, like, you know, in between, not knowing what to say. I'm just like, I don't know. Even though I do know, I know, you know. And we all know, but once again, you can't lie to yourself. Like you could lie to anyone else. You could lie to everyone else. But when you come home to yourself, you should be honest with yourself. Like, and that can be painful. That can be uncomfortable. But it's learning to sit through the discomfort that really makes you a stronger person, you know? And with this friend, I hope they don't watch this video, and I hope if they do, they actually take something away from it. This friend, one thing I've noticed within them that I've noticed within a lot of people is that they don't truly know themselves. They have not truly embraced themselves to the full depths that they could. And during this text conversation that we were having, I said something along the lines of, like, Christians, because we were talking about theology, and I was like, Christians do this thing where they, like, look for someone to save them, rather than recognizing that they're supposed to save themselves. We're supposed to save ourselves. We're supposed to take ownership of our lives, you know? And he got really offended by that. And I think it's because I said something that was really pointed, and I was saying, you're afraid of your own power. And I said it directly to him. I was like, you're afraid of your own power. You're afraid of, like, what you can do. And he got really offended, and, like, it was like he turned off his listening ability because he was just, like, so offended. And I'm like, so is that not true, though? Because to me, that's me hyping you up. I don't see how that's an insult. Like, if somebody's telling me I'm powerful and I'm, like, capable of great things, I'm just holding myself back. I don't know, like, a person who actually wants to, like, grow and evolve, to me, would take that as, like, something to help build them, you know? But to someone who's complacent, to someone who's, like, settling. And once again, with this friend, it was, like, really annoying because sometimes he would say things, I'm like, what? Like, he was saying, again, I'm not trying to dwell too much on the situation, I'm just using what we talked about as, like, a talking point. But he was like, you know, we're not trying to settle for living in our filth. Because I think at some point we were talking about chaos magic, and, like, you know, he was saying chaos can't be conducive to harmony. And, which, if you don't know about chaos magic, by the way, I also explained it to him. It's basically the idea. When it comes to semantics, this is one of those things that kind of annoy me, because it's like the title is misleading. Like, it has nothing really to do with magic per se. It really has everything to do with what you believe. You know, you can create magic with the idea, but it's not inherently just magic. It's the concept that reality is based upon what we believe, individually and collectively. So, like, in theory, because this is, you know, some things are more malleable than others, but in theory, it's the idea that, like, you know, if we all started believing that the sky was red, the sky would be red. Either by definition or by, like, visuals. You know, because if we called blue red and said that the sky was red, then that would technically be true because we all believe that that's, you know? But then it gets into more, like, interesting waters when you get into application of life, you know, like the law of assumption. That's basically what that is, like, what you believe is true. If you believe that everyone has a crush on you, you'll probably see evidence of that. Even if it isn't true, you'll see evidence of it. That's confirmation bias. But no, the fact that he got so upset, and it was like, I don't know, it makes me upset because this is a person that I enjoy talking with, that I feel like somewhat of a soul connection with, and I don't know, I'm just of the awareness that he is very limited in his thinking, and I don't know. I don't see the whole picture. I don't claim to know everything. But the way that I see it, it is very harmful to be in an intimate relationship with someone that, I'm trying to phrase this delicately. Like, you know why people say, like, it's the reason why people say you can't be friends with a jealous person. Because, and especially not, okay, because self-awareness is key. And if you're aware of these aspects of yourself and you're able to embrace them and, like, you know, take care of them, that's one thing. But back to lying to ourselves. When you're lying to yourselves and you're saying, oh, I'm not jealous. Oh, I'm not envious. You know, and with this friend, much love to them. It's frustrating because I'm very observant. I'm very, you know, I can see a lot of shit. And I've called him out several times and I've been like, you know, I feel like you're just intimidated by, like, and obviously I know that it's nothing about me. Like, once again, it's his own thing. Like, he's intimidated by his own power. But I've called him out and I've said, look, I feel like you're just intimidated by me. And he's like, no. But then he's made other, like, admissions of guilt and been like, you know, I'm jealous of you for this. And I'm like, And the thing about being psychic, I feel, and, like, knowing things, if you're going to, like, interact with people knowing certain things, you kind of just have to accept that people are the way they are. You can encourage, but, like, at the end of the day, it's like, for example, like, if you know someone is angry and they choose to tell you, no, everything's fine, nothing's wrong, you could push, you could prod, but really what you're trying to do is trying to ease that tension that you feel within yourself, because you're feeling that other person's emotion, but they choose to deny that. And if you're going to be in contact with people like that, you have to accept that, like, sometimes you're just not going to be validated, you know, like, and that's not good for growth. That's not good for development. Like, validation is necessary. Like, I've definitely been stunted because I've been around people who, like, when I have certain ideas, when I have certain thoughts, like, I share and they're like, oh, that's interesting, or like, oh, that's not true. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I know not to take it personal. Once again, the 4 agreements, don't take anything personal. But I feel like I'm just talking. I just wanted to make a video, and some of this is going to be me rambling, I guess, and some of this isn't. I don't know. But at least to me, though, it proves that, like, this is something that I want to do. It's like I genuinely find enjoyment from making videos. Like, even if they're not always the best quality, even if I don't always, like, you know, explain myself in the best way, I enjoy making content. Like, we're gonna go in a different direction, and we're gonna talk about actually, I don't know what to talk about. I feel like I've just rambled this whole video. Paul, in case you're watching this, I really wish you could, like, understand where I was coming from when I say certain things. You know, because, like, I feel like, oh my goodness. You know what I just remembered? I had an interaction with a 7-Eleven cashier a couple weeks ago, and oh my god, it was so frustrating. It felt good for me to, like, show up the way that I did, you know, to stand up for myself, but it was so frustrating. So basically, I didn't have enough money on my card, and I also didn't have enough change on my person, and where I was staying at the time, I could have just went back over there and gotten, like, it was a 10-cent difference. And I was like, I come in here all the time, like, can I just come back? Like, I gave you all the change that I have, like, I gave you everything that I have, like, can I just come back and give you the 10 cents? And she was like, it makes me so angry to think about it. Like, And it even makes me more angry to think that she was doing it intentionally, because that's how I interpreted it. And I don't know if I was correct, but that's how I interpreted it in the moment. I was just like, are you purposely mishearing me? Because she kept... And it's not just her. This is something I've experienced all my life. Like, all my life, people have been like, you're too soft. Like, you need to speak up, etc., etc. Sometimes it's very valid. I get it. But other times, I feel like people are purposely doing that to piss me off. And I felt like she was doing that. I have to laugh about it. Otherwise, I get so mad. And I said that to her. I was like, are you purposely... Like, are you pretending you can't hear me? Because I even leaned in closer to her because she said she couldn't hear me. And she was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I'm like... And I was like, I feel like... It was one of those moments where you just feel so liberated, empowered. Like, I don't like having to, like, be mean to people. But I said it with my whole chest. I was like... What did I say? I said... I don't remember the rest part, but I said specifically... Because I feel like I'm talking so clearly. And I said that... I remember I just said that with my whole chest. And I said it and I was like... Who am I? But I was so mad because, like, she kept making me repeat myself. And I even moved closer so she could hear me. And she was like, I can't hear you. I'm like... Are you purposely trying to piss me off? Because, like, I feel like I'm speaking so clearly. And eventually I just, like, asked somebody behind me. I was like, does anybody have 10 cents? And the dude next to me was, he was awesome. And he gave me the 10 cents. But it was just like, I was like, what, lady? Like, what are you doing? Like... And once again, it really pains me to think that people do this shit on purpose. Like... I don't know, when we talk about the idea of deliverance and demons and shit, like, you do have to recognize that, like, we battle not against flesh and blood, we battle against, powers and principalities. And when you say that, that means we battle against feelings, we battle against emotions, we battle against ego. Like, not people. Like, we're battling with people's feelings, with people's emotions, with people's egos. And... Also, when you talk about demons, we also talk about trauma. That's also a thing. Like, a lot of people are so traumatized that they create these entities within themselves, and that's, like, one perspective of that. But, like, it pissed me off so much to think that she was purposely doing it, because it's something I've experienced all my life. And I don't know, it's like, and actually in this moment I'm thinking, like, is that a demon just following me? Is that a spirit? It might be. I'm kind of thankful that I don't experience some of the things that other people do. Because some of the stories that other people tell about, like, ghosts and spirits and shit, I'm like, oh my goodness. No, thank you. I've experienced some things. I've had some moments where I've been like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, in this moment, there's, like, a chill. I feel a chill. Like, I remember one time, every time I explain this, I feel so weird. I stayed at a hotel for a night. Oh, so I'm running out of space, so I have to stop recording soon. I was at a hotel, and I don't know, the first day was kind of crazy, whatever. And then I had somebody over, and then they left. And that's a whole nother story. They said they were going to pay me back for the Uber, they never did. Another story. But I woke up and I remember seeing this apparition, whatever how you say that, like, it was like a face, and, like, I saw it very clearly, but it kind of, like, faded, and I was just waking up, and so my brain registered it as, like, oh, hey, other person who's been in this room with me the whole time, right? I registered it like that, but then a second went by and I was like, oh wait, I'm alone. And I laughed maniacally to keep from freaking out, because I was just like, oh my god, what did I just see? And that was like a moment. And I can feel the energies in the room right now. And I'm like, hello, how are you? So I'm going to actually end this, because mostly because I'm running out of storage, not because I'm scared. Fuck that jazz. But thank you for being here with me. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you got something from this. Hope you took something away from this. You should check out the description down below. I'm going to try to put some links down there. Stay safe, stay smart, stay beautiful. Bye.